It's 3 o'clock on April 2nd, 2019. We will call the Del Norte Local Transportation Commission regular meeting to order. First, we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, it's the public comment period. Anyone wishing to make public comments regarding matters either on or off the agenda and within the Commission's jurisdiction may do so at this time. However, the Commission is not permitted to act on non-agenda items. Eileen, public comment? Can you hang on a second, Eileen? We're going to wait for your microphone to come on. Hang on a second.
Is this off? Is this okay? I have rain on my eyeglasses and I can't hear. Okay. The first comment is that you should have open public comment, perhaps 10 after the hour or a quarter after the hour, because it's impossible to use your bus system and get here in time for the beginning of these meetings. The Board of Supervisors is convenient in that it is delayed slightly, and other meetings, so I would appreciate that. Secondly, I aired the last Redwood Coast Transit meeting on the videos online at home, and there was a gentleman who talked about that the buses going straight through town now from Gasky south now have to stop and go roundabout all crazy to the college in an effort to make it convenient for college students. However, it has imposed a hardship on people who are going through and want to do business there. So I thought that perhaps that Gasky bus should go through, and instead of going all the way to the college and all roundabout till that the 199 bus should perhaps just stop at Walmart and then come right back on the highway. That way college students could use it.
Eileen, this is the Transportation Commission. This isn't the Local Transit Authority. We'll
Yes,
bring this up at the next.
Yes, some of you are on that board. I don't get to go to those meetings. This is part of the Transportation Commission. You you do approve what they are doing.
No.
Somewhat? Not at all. Not at all. You do approve their funding?
Yeah. Transit routes are not part of the Transportation Commission's jurisdiction. They're just not.
Well, I thought I saw, well, I guess I saw on the agenda something related to their program. So, I could be mistaken. Item C, Redwood Coast Transit Authority. And staff recommendation, adopt a resolution authorizing execution of documents and programs
transit
supporting.
routes are not part of our jurisdiction.
Okay.
They're
then
not.
The other thing is that I do, again, with the buses, I was upset that we don't have hybrid buses or green buses as part of our low carbon program, transit program. And let's see. All right. That's good for now. Thank you.
You know, Mr. Chairman,
yes.
Instead of, come on back a second, just a second. I don't mind hearing about related objects, even if they're not under the exact jurisdiction of this, because sometimes they are. and sometimes they intertwine. So it's only 3 minutes. I would like to hear what you have to say, and then we'll take a note. And if it's something that
Yes.
needs additional discussion, we can go there.
Yes, you are on the board.
Yeah, Ms. Cooper, I just want you to make you aware, though, that what you're discussing is literally not within this board's purview or jurisdiction, quite literally. Again, some of us do sit on the Transit Authority, but this isn't a Transit Authority meeting, this is Transportation Commission. This is just, it's not this board's jurisdiction or purview. Contact us, though. Please do. Continue to keep in touch and come to these meetings and stay involved.
Yes, I do have to make those meetings, but I do agree with Roger Gitlin that they are intertwined as far as transportation funding goes, so, thank you.
Yeah. Mr. Gitlin, Commissioner Gitlin, I would need to defer to our council about hearing items that are not under our jurisdiction. I don't know that it's allowable, so with your consent, I'll just run this by council to make sure that we either change the language on our agenda, or that I have some follow-up with them about what our correct procedures are.
Thank you, Tamara.
Thank you. And feel free to stay after to chat with me, too, about, Transit Authority. I'll be here. Okay, any other public comment? Okay. Seeing none, we will adjourn to the Policy Advisory Committee and take up the consent agenda. These items are considered routine in nature and voted in one motion. On the consent agenda, we have the minutes of February 5th, 2019, the 2018-19 Overall Work Program Amendment 4, and approving LCTOP programming. Is there any public comment on the consent agenda?
Motion approved.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Will you please poll a vote?
Commissioner Gitlin?
Yes.
Commissioner Hemmingson?
Yes.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Commissioner Inscore?
Yes.
Commissioner Keim?
Yes.
And Chair Commissioner Alex Ballman?
Yes. Thank you. Okay, next we're going to take up our policy and administrative items. Item D, discussion items. We'll start with pedestrian safety on US 101 at Washington Boulevard on-ramp. Tamara.
I put together a brief staff report. Most of the information in this staff report came from Suresh Ratnam with Caltrans, and we've had this challenge of the pedestrians on the on-ramp on Highway 101 for a very long time. It was actually one of the Transportation Commission's concern when Walmart became a supercenter about the expanded items that they would be selling, and that there would be more pedestrians in that area of our community, where at the time we had a very high injury fatality rate. So we're still addressing that injury fatality rate. And Caltrans is now addressing this issue as an ADA issue. This has been brought to their attention numerous times. Now there's such a path there through the dirt that it's a clear pedestrian path. And anytime that there's a pedestrian path through the dirt along a local street and road, it's really treated, or a U.S. highway, it's really treated as a pedestrian path and needs to be ADA compliant. So I want, for just all of your information, to understand that it's not only on the Caltrans areas, but also on our local streets and roads areas. If somebody's building something where there's a path, then there needs to be a sidewalk. And because I know we all do, when you drive down the on-ramp at Washington Boulevard and Highway 101, you'll see such a clear pedestrian path. We see people there, just continuously. And most of them, I expect, are going to Walmart and getting groceries, whatever basic community needs. So that's the project that's being addressed there. We see people with children and strollers and whatever on the on-ramp. So I'm grateful that we have a path forward for that pedestrian challenge that's just a continual challenge in our community along that area. That project will probably align with the ADA project that Caltrans has in place right now that is addressing ADA issues through the downtown area along US 101. So I'm expecting that they will combine those construction times and complete the ADA. So, Suresh, did you have anything to add?
Questions?
Okay.
It's in the pipeline to be programmed. It'll be implemented in about 3 to 4 years is my, what I was told.
So is that a standard expectation that if there is a path that's been carved out by anyone, that you know, agencies are expected to, yes and no?
If somebody is building a house on a city street and there's no pedestrian path on that city street, then when those improvements happen, it's expected that an ADA compliant path will be built per the, you know, city, county, common, whoever's requirements in that area. Part of the issue is that there have been formally filed ADA complaints for this area with the state of California for Caltrans to make this an ADA compliant area. So there's additional impetus here.
Got it.
It's not that anywhere there's a pedestrian walking, we're required to have a sidewalk. That would be an obligation that we don't have the resources to meet. Yeah.
Right, that's why I was wondering, because we'd be paving everything.
Right, but the state of California does have the resources to address this issue in an area where we've had significant injuries and fatalities over time and where there has been an ADA complaint filed.
Any other questions or comments on this issue? Yeah, go for it.
I guess my question is, and I understand the coordinating with the work that's already being done through the city and through that 101 corridor, but it would seem to me that given the fact that this is an ADA need, and that there's certainly a difference in the traffic patterns as they come into the city. We're talking about people who are decelerating from 65 to 45 right in that same zone. So we're talking about a lot higher level of speeds, and we're talking about somewhat of a higher volume in some ways, obviously, because some people, by the time they get into the downtown, they've turned off here, there, and everywhere else, whereas everybody who's coming south is going to have some level of interaction with pedestrians along this pathway. It just seems to me that with the fact that complaints have already been filed from an ADA standpoint, that this should be being expedited beyond just try to match it up with a project that's already in the queue. And I don't know what the possibility of that is, and I don't know what our role in that is. If our role possibly could be voicing our concerns to say we would like this expedited for the safety of the people who live in our community. I guess I would just be asking maybe for some clarity on what options there may be to help move this quicker.
Yeah, I think that there are a few things that prohibit it from happening faster. It's you know, it's a little bit complicated in that area about where this is going to go, so it still needs to go through the phases of development, you know, it needs community engagement, it needs design, right-of-way, construction, all of those things to happen, and the funding needs to be secured. The funding isn't available sooner that we're aware of. They've tried to make it available sooner, but it isn't available sooner. This is actually, project will be accelerated to catch up with the project that's happening right now, rather than waiting through the more normal, you know, 6 years of, I know it's astounding how long things take, but they take a lot of time for some good reasons. You know, once you put that sidewalk in, you can't take it out. You know, there's some very clear reasons. So I think that this project is moving as fast as I would expect it to, given all of the constraints of transportation development.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Next up is the overall work program.
I was hoping to have the work program in the agenda packet today. We went through it in detail over a month ago, and I don't have the Caltrans comments back. So I just wanted to give you a heads up that I acknowledge it's not in the agenda packet. We're not at any risk of being late on that. The next steps will be that I'll receive the Caltrans comments. I'll address those comments through the TAC to the commission. We'll respond to those comments in whatever way seems appropriate, and I'll bring back the, I'm expecting to bring back the next year's work program on the consent agenda, just as we discussed. This year's work program is moving forward well. I am expecting to complete all the work necessary for this work program year. We have just initiated the Elk Valley Crossroad Corridor Plan, and this is the time when we anticipated starting that work. So I'm eager to move forward with that area of our work program, and you'll be hearing more about that in the next 6 to 9 months.
Questions or comments for the director? Public comment? Okay. Next we have U.S. intersection at Elk Valley Crossroad, or Last Chance Grade, I'm sorry. Last Chance Grade.
Yeah, a few of us attended the California Transportation Commission meeting last month. We have a $45 million allocation for the environmental documents. It's a big deal. That's a lot of money for an environmental phase. The California Transportation Commission would like to see things accelerated, a faster document than, I think 2024 is the date right now. Frankly, when I heard that there was a concern about the 2024 date, my immediate thought was that they didn't think it was enough time, not that they thought it was too much time. That's a lot of document that needs to be done. If you think about $45 million of document, of research studies, it's a lot of work. So I'm hopeful that we'll have it done early, but frankly, I wish that the process could be streamlined, but given the constraints of the environmental law, I think that it's a reasonable time frame. So there's a stakeholder meeting coming up. I'm not part of that group. I don't remember the date, but within the next few weeks, there's a stakeholder meeting. I know that I'll be out of town, I think, in Chico for some CTC meetings during that time, so maybe even next week. I'm not sure when that is, but there's a stakeholder meeting that's coming up, and that process seems to be moving forward well. And that's really all I have at Last Chance Grade right now.
Okay. Any questions for the director? Public comment?
It's next Wednesday, the 10th.
Yeah.
Wednesday the 10th, yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
This for all the discussion items?
Just as we're taking them up. I don't know.
Just as,
So right now we're doing Last Chance Grade. Next up is the Elk Valley Crossroad. If you want to wait till your topic comes up, we can do that. So we can get the
Okay.
report in first and have something to, comment on. Okay. U.S. intersection at, or 199 intersection at Elk Valley Crossroad.
This is a standing item on our agenda. Other than the initiation of the Crossroad Corridor Plan, I don't have anything new to report on the 199 at Elk Valley Crossroad area.
Questions or comments? Okay. You sure? Go ahead.
the intersection in Elk Valley Crossroads, something I've commented on before about that item that is worth repeating is that, again, when I drive that area, the Kings Valley Road entering directly onto the 199, there is very problematic, and only a right turn entering 199 should be engaged, and it just, it's unnecessary for people to be crossing when there's another crossing just a little bit south. That, to me, is the main safety hazard there on that Valley Crossroads. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Turn pockets on US 101 in the Smith River area.
I have no updates on this topic.
Okay. Questions, comments? Okay. Commonplace crowdsourcing and collision mapping.
I'm working with our consultant team to find a way to combine our collision mapping on our crowdsourcing commonplace tool. So when we are, when we receive reports of collisions, I can post them on the commonplace page and then be able to identify all the collisions that happen in a certain area in a more timely manner. The information is generally available to us through more common resources. Right now, they've caught up a lot. They're only about 1.5 years behind right now for that data to be posted. And that's, I must say, significantly better than it was, 5 years ago, significantly better. So they've gained a lot of ground on that. It used to be over 3 years behind in the data posting. I think that to have a visual tool of the collisions that are injury and fatality collisions that I receive reports on would just be helpful. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention that we're working on with Commonplace how to drop a pin, report or to state the collision report comes to us, but to post a collision on there and then be able to have an overall look at the collisions in our area over time.
That's certainly a worthwhile innovation. Thank you for that. Any questions or comments regarding this issue? Go ahead, Eileen.
All right, I've entered some comments on that crowdsourcing site, and I just here might as well bring them to your attention. That roundabout that was created by what is going to be the new casino area, Sand Mine and Humboldt there. If you go there and try to walk where they show you to walk, it's extremely dangerous. You go along the beautiful new trail, right? And then they make a pathway to, if you are heading south, to the beaches. And the paved way that they've created there just ends. And then you're around a very tight blind turn where you can just stumble into a ditch. And there's such an accident waiting to happen there to a pedestrian. I just don't understand why they made such a beautiful walkway and then ended it right in a ditch. And you're going to keep walking no matter whether you're going to fall into the road. You got to get into the road. It's not a good situation. A solution might be, I understand filling wetlands, but I mean, it seems like the whole circle should have been moved north, but I mean, into the field more to avoid this situation, but it's too late for that. So perhaps a wooden raised walkway, probably, maybe. Something raised, at least to level that and give a little room for people to walk might be a solution. I don't know, but it's not good. And also at the light at 101 and Elk Valley Road, there continues to not be a line separating pedestrians and traffic, and that's problematic. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. On item 5, commissioner comments and reports. Anything anybody else would like to add on anything at all?
Yeah, I would like to say something. Tamara, you and I spoke about 2 weeks ago about an area that I felt was a vulnerable area, and I'm glad that Caltrans is here to explain the protocol in how guardrails go up. This is at milepost mark 12.6. It's a little bit south of Firehouse Road. Speed begins to pick up, and then there's just this big open wide spot where there's guardrail, and then it stops, and the guardrail, it's so inviting, it looks like someone could just drive right into it. Now, I don't understand the protocol and how and where the highway is guardrailed. I don't know if there's a rhyme or a reason. Maybe our planner can help me understand that, but it seems to be that that seems to be a particularly vulnerable location because it's attracted my eyesight. Now, we have a lot of tourists coming up here. They're not familiar with our roads, especially in problematic weather. And I don't know if cars have gone into the drink there. I know we have a lot of cars that do go into the river, and I'm not so sure that there's a guardrail there where it goes over. So I'd like maybe to get a little report from our planner on the understanding and the reasoning, the engineering behind why a guardrail goes up and why it doesn't go up. Is it a cost factor? So perhaps at our next meeting we can discuss that.
Yeah, I can just, in summary, you know, for anybody who's listening, and the guardrails go in when there is a justifiable reason. It doesn't have anything to do with money, really. It's not a funding issue. It's a safety issue. If there's an area of the highway that requires guardrails, then guardrails go in. And if there are many areas, there's a particular area of concern on Highway 197 where it's like, holy schmoly, you're driving along and especially at high water, it feels like you're about to drive into the river, but there really isn't an accident rate, a collision rate there where there are accidents at that location. Perhaps it's people are Google-eyed and are driving more slowly. Thank you for that. But unless there's a cause, guardrails are not put in an area. So the guardrails would go into an area if there was an accident rate that indicated it was necessary. And so changes to the highway have to do with corrections that we discover over time are needed to the highway that we have right now.
Let me just have a follow-up question with you on that, Tamara. What would be the, should there be any reason that a vehicle goes into the river if there's no guardrail there? I don't know if I'm saying that right. If a guardrail can prevent any vehicle, and we certainly have had a number of them that have gone into the river, wouldn't that be something to look into? Where there are accidents, and was there a guardrail there? And if not, let's look into it.
Most of the collisions on US Highway 199 are from people driving faster than the highway conditions allow, and that's not only rain and not even so often people from outside of the area, but people who are very familiar with the highway. They're driving too fast for the highway conditions. We have more single car collisions. Most of them do not involve trucks and trucking. They're single cars driving too fast and losing control of their vehicle. There are some dangers of putting in guardrails in some areas, so that's also a concern in that the car will bounce off the guardrail and then you have a head-on collision with, you know, from a vehicle who's just driving along minding their own business and driving safely. So there are a lot of issues that go into it, but generally I would say no, not unless there is an area. There's not an imaginary line. There is only a line based in data. So if you're looking at a river location and you're saying, gosh, it looks like I can imagine cars going into the river, that's not, the imaginary reason is not a reason why Caltrans would make a correction to the US Highway 199. It's only for the data reasons that they would make a correction. There are a lot of areas that look dangerous, and driving is dangerous. So that should always be our premise. Driving is dangerous. but there are areas that look like they would be problematic, but if there isn't actual data that demonstrates those problems, then a correction would not be warranted. I mean, and that's what they call it. They call it warrants. Would not be warranted.
Okay. Any other comments, reports? No? Yeah.
Curious about the 199 project. And I was at the North Deal meeting. Matt wasn't there, so I didn't get a chance to talk. And nobody seems to know what's going on. Do we get reports from that? Is there a project manager on that? Is there someone to call and talk to and find out where the litigation is?
Jamie Mattioli is the project manager on the U.S. Highway 199 project. And with the litigation, I could have Autumn Luna come in and give us an update on the litigation if you'd like to do that. Either before or after our next meeting, we could do that in closed session. If you would like an update for that, that would be the appropriate.
I would like to know. I'd like to know, where things are stalled with the, what do we do now kind of a thing. I mean, we've just been sitting on our thumbs for quite a while now.
Yeah, I talked to Black and Rice, Black, Rice, and Luna now, regularly about that project, and yeah, I can absolutely see from your perspective why it seems like nothing is happening, and indeed nothing is happening in a way that I find acceptable. But I will invite Autumn to our next meeting, and unless she has a conflict, we'll have a closed session either before or after the meeting.
Yeah, maybe give her a heads up so that if she can find out more information, that she could get current information for us.
Absolutely. I'll contact her, today or tomorrow. I would like to suggest, usually we have our closed sessions before the meeting. It would be an informational closed session, so I'm expecting that it would be okay to have it after the meeting if all of you are okay with that.
Either way.
And then,
either way is good with me.
Yeah, and then members of the public don't have to wait through our closed session.
Whatever works for Miss Luna.
Okay.
Because it's fast. Okay. Last call? Nothing? Okay, we're going to adjourn as the Policy Advisory Committee, reconvene as the Local Transportation Commission, and by polled vote, approve and adopt the actions taken by the Policy Advisory Committee in the items listed above. Do I have a motion?
Move for approval.
Second? Is there a second? Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Will you please call the roll? Call the vote.
Commissioner Hemmingson?
Yes.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Commissioner Gitlin?
Yes.
Commissioner Inscore?
Yes.
Commissioner Keim?
Yes.
Commissioner Chair Alex Volman?
Yes. Okay. The motion passes. We will adjourn until the regularly scheduled meeting on Tuesday, May 7th at 3 p.m. Thank you, everybody.
Yep, thank you.